Hi, my name is Shane Willits, and I am currently a behavior intern at Utah Behavior Services. I am an intern. This just means that I am currently in school getting my master's in behavior analysis so that I can be eligible to test to become a board certified behavior analyst. Part of the responsibilities of this job includes supervising, and this is a job that is new and foreign to me. So today it's just basically training on supervising and what that entails and why and how. This was something that, because it was so new to me, I felt like I needed to dive in deep so that I could better prepare for my supervision sessions and for when I needed to go in and coach RBTs and provide guidance and explanations and coaching and modeling in order to be able to provide best practice and for these clients that I've been blessed to take on into my caseload. So I'm going to share my screen really fast to the presentation. And it is called Supervising RBTs, the whys, whats, whos, and hows. All of this information was taken from the BCBA. There's an 8-hour supervising class that is required. And it's basically, again, a training to help those that are getting ready to supervise, those that are supervising RBTs. This job is difficult because it requires open communication. It requires trust. It requires evidence-based research on how to provide feedback and coaching. And so basically that curriculum was shrunk down into 8 slides, and that is what we will be going over today. Sorry about the sniffle. It's March, and so my allergies are going crazy. So my nose is a little bit itchy, but we'll press on. So first is the why. Why is supervision important? When you go to school and you are learning all of these different awesome procedures and things that have been researched through, experimental analysis of behavior, through the ABA process, you're reading all these journals, you're reading about all of these effective evidence-based practices, procedures, and interventions, and then you're going to apply them to these kiddos in your life. So you go to a clinic. I'm at Utah Behavior Services, and you are trusted with your first case. And you see that, this kiddo has this deficit, and let's work on this social skill, let's work on this adaptive skill, let's work on this gross motor skill, etc. So we kind of come up with a behavior plan. We're implementing things like reinforcement, extinction, differential reinforcement of other behaviors, of alternative behaviors, of high rates of behaviors, low rates of behaviors. We're implementing, we're figuring out the function, we're running FAs, we're addressing those functions, we're treating according to those functions. Anyway, so we get to kind of throw up everything that we've learned onto a human being, and it's awesome. One of the biggest struggles that I've come across during this wonderful experience is making sure that these interventions are implemented faithfully and with fidelity, meaning that is every RBT running the targets and the programs how they should be, so that we are seeing progress in our kiddos, right? And if you've got one RBT running it how you want, and then one RBT maybe kind of doing their own thing, then we're not going to see as much progress. That progress in our client isn't going to be as efficient or as effective as it could be. And ethically, that's our job, is to make sure that we are providing the best care possible to see these kids thrive. Of course, I'm talking about kids because that's what I work with, but whatever population you're with. So the first thing it talks about is fidelity. Just like as I was saying, we're running programs, we're taking data. Are your RBTs collecting data the same? Are your RBTs running different targets the same? Are they all faithfully, placing certain behaviors on extinction while at the same time consistently reinforcing alternative behaviors like functional communication? And then competency, are your RBTs even able to? Do they know what they're doing? When I say put this on extinction, do they know what that means? And that's where supervision comes in. These are opportunities we have to observe, collect data on their performance, and then address it. Either give the positive feedback that they deserve, or maybe some corrective feedback so that we're all on the same page. According to the board, or the BACB, all RBTs that have that RBT credential and that are keeping that up, they are required to have 5% supervision of, like, however hours they're working per month, 5% of that needs to be supervised by either a BCBA or a BCABA. I do supervision as a behavior intern, but even as an intern, my supervision does not count towards an RBT's 5%. So that we are making sure that they're getting that coaching from a higher up, more experienced behavior analyst. So we'll continue. So the what are we doing? Okay. I really loved that it kept pushing communication. I think that is super key. I think that the RBTs need to know that they're heard, that their concerns are met, and feel supported by us. I think it would be hard if we came in and maybe they are doing this, and this wrong, right? And then we're like, you need to do this, you need to do this, this needs to be fixed, this, and they're just getting corrective feedback. I think as an RBT, which I also am, I am currently working as an RBT as well, as a clinician, it's hard. It's hard to just get like, you need to fix this, you need to fix this, you need to fix this. And so having developing good communication skills and learning about how to properly give feedback is super important. So what I loved is it said, promote high communicative environment. I want to go in as a clinician, and maybe I do have some corrective feedback to come to deliver. But I want my RBT more than anything to feel that they can come to me with questions about the program, questions about the kiddo, questions about why I'm doing something, why I'm implementing something. Maybe something's not working. They see our kiddos way more often than we do. And so I think that they have also valuable input that we should be able to listen to as well. All of this, the observing, the feedback, the coaching, everything is to ensure high quality services to the client. And ethically, that's our job, right? If we're just letting our clients sit and do nothing, then we've got insurance and parents and caregivers paying a lot of money for a daycare, basically, and that's not ethical. And so we need to make sure that our programs are being ran well, so that there is effective and efficient progress. Cool. We already talked about how programs, we do this so that we can make sure that everything's ran with fidelity. I love the idea of modeling and promoting. We are clinicians, but we are coaches, and unfortunately, sometimes the RBTs are looking up to us. They are watching us. They're watching how we interact with the kiddos. And so I love that idea of modeling. I loved the idea of promoting. And when I think of promoting, I kind of think of a cheerleader almost, where it's not just like, do this, do this, do this, but it's, look at this. This is so fun. This is so awesome. And our kid is making progress, and that should be reinforcing. That progress should be reinforcing. So we're promoting, we're making it look awesome, and we're showing them how to do it. So how are we helping? Are we modeling? Are we promoting behavior analytic skills? If I'm sitting there like yelling at a client, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, that's not behavior analytic. And, our RBTs are going to see that. And so they're going to start being like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And that's not going to be good for our kiddos. So we need to make sure that we're also running things faithfully, and that we are demonstrating behavior analytic skills as well. Again, we are modeling and promoting ethical behavior. I believe really intensely in ethics, because it's what keeps us safe. It's what keeps our clients safe. And it's kind of, it's all about safety and comfort and making sure that everybody is on the same page. And I love that very clean practice. what I really, really, really loved was this last point says seek and provide feedback. I think when we think about supervision, especially as an RBT, they're thinking, okay, this is my time to review, get all the feedback, right? All the corrective feedback. But what I loved as clinician is that we're also supposed to be seeking. You know, this is a very humbling job. And you cannot go into it thinking, I know everything and everything I say and everything that comes out of my mouth is correct. I know that there are several times when I reach a road bump, a bump in the road, and I don't know where to continue. I don't know how to help a certain kiddo with, maybe an ASD diagnosis and maybe some attachment diagnoses. I've never studied attachment disorders, and so I don't know how to address that. And this is where I would come in very humble and I would seek feedback. I would seek feedback from other clinicians with more experience, other clinicians with the same experience, maybe other clinicians in the mental health realm. But also there are times where you put in a target or a program or a target into their program, and then you think it makes super sense. You think you've made it super clear in the teaching instructions, and then your RBTs have no idea how to run it or why they're running it or anything like that. So then also seeking feedback from the RBTs, because again, they're the ones running it, so it's in real time. They're the ones that can tell you if this is working or not working. And then also maybe that's not what they need. Maybe you put something that's too advanced and they just cannot do it. And so maybe you need to scale back a bit. So just making sure that we're humble and we are also seeking feedback as well as giving it. I already kind of mentioned this. So RBTs, the BCBA, they're the board certified behavior analysts. They can provide supervision to RBTs. It says here RBT training competency assessments, which we should be getting as RBTs every year. They could supervise BCABAs. And then this is also the people that will supervise or do the fieldwork experience for BCBA credential. So that, like for me, for example, I have to be supervised 10% of my hours by a BCBA in order to, for those hours to count towards my tracker and towards my BCBA credential, as it says. The BCABAs, they're the board certified assistant behavior analysts, and they can supervise RBTs and do their assessments and competencies. So I really loved the how. So, it kind of tells you what our job is, but now how. And I feel like this is the most important part because this is the part where we're not really coached on, So first, we need to make a contract. I think that it's important for you to lay out your responsibility as a clinician so that people know what they're getting into. They know that when you come and supervise that there is going to be feedback. So this contract is just going to clarify expectations and responsibilities. And it must be signed by both parties prior to supervision. I think this kind of makes sense as a contract, like I promise to do this if you promise to do this, and so that we're both held accountable in this situation, right? So I promise to give feedback, I promise to seek feedback, I promise to be ethical. In return, you're going to promise to be ethical, you're going to promise to receive feedback, you're going to promise to give feedback, you're going to, we're a partnership, right? And then especially if we are tracking hours in supervision, we need to make sure that, like for example, I have a contract with the BCBA, and it says, I promise that I will work hard and I will take feedback and I will learn, but they're also going to promise to help me get my 10% of supervision that I need to track my hours. So it's really awesome that way. Contracts are really good to hold people accountable as well. RBT feedback preferences. We run, as behavior analysts, we run preference assessments with all of our kiddos. Like I'm going to, do you want the skills? Do you want the M&Ms? We can do our single stimulus, our free operant, our multiple stimulus preference assessments. We have all these tools and procedures and assessments that we can run in order to find out what is reinforcing or preferred for each kiddo that we're working with. So it would only make sense that we do the same for our RBTs that we're supervising. So making sure that, for example, this talks about feedback preferences. Am I providing corrective feedback in front of this person's peers, which might be embarrassing? But even positive feedback, maybe even providing that positive feedback and, nice job, you're doing amazing, you're incredible in front of peers might be embarrassing for some RBTs, but in front of other RBTs, that might be extremely reinforcing to receive positive feedback in front of other people. So making sure that we are, asking. I mean, it says that right here in the second bullet point. Different supervisors and RBTs provide and prefer to receive feedback in very different ways. So what can we do? We can ask. Even this might sound silly, but when I'm on a new case working with new RBTs, I'll send out a text to all those staff on my kiddo and say, okay, tell me something about you. Tell me your favorite drink, because I'm a big soda person, and tell me your favorite candy bar. And I think it also just kind of starts that relationship on a good note. Like, hey, this person cares about me and not just the kid. This person cares about how I'm doing and things that I like. Same goes with feedback, just ask. And then the third point here is using a checklist for supervision to help promote transparency, objectivity, and a standardized operational understanding of expectations. I think this kind of gets the emotion out of it, which is really important so that we're not stepping on feelings, we're not intentionally hurting people. I think when you're giving feedback, if it's just all subjective, it's not necessary to talk, right? If somebody says, I like the color green, and I say, oh, I hate green, that's not something I need to say. That's not important. That's subjective, right? And it might just hurt their feelings because that's rude, right? I hate green. I hate your favorite color. It's stupid. But, when we're going in and we are trying to promote that effective and efficient care for our kiddos, we need to make sure that we are clinical, evidence-based, and objective. Same goes with our feedback. So if I see that there's somebody that's running a program incorrectly, it's my fault, okay? Because that means that I didn't write out clear teaching instructions. I didn't make the steps clear enough. I didn't, and so that's when I can promote transparency. I can be like, oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't clear enough. Let's work together to make this so that everybody understands what's going on. And then if somebody is, and then when I'm doing that and focusing on how it translates to the RBTs, I can practice, if they're doing it wrong, I can go back and be like, okay, so the teaching instruction says this, this, and this. I'm only seeing this and this. And then we can kind of compare, use the data, and coach and provide feedback from that, right? So that we're not getting into the emotions of it. So it would be very different if I came in and was like, wow, that was awful. You need to change that. That stunk. That's wrong. That's wrong, right? They're not going to take that very well. But if you come in and be like, okay, just to clarify, the teaching instructions have these 3 steps, and I'm only seeing these 2 steps. Can we try it with the 3? And then you guys can practice, and we can model, and we can work on it from there. And that's where it also, it talks about standardized. Are my teaching instructions standardized? Are they easy to follow? Is everybody doing the same thing? Are my operational understanding of expectations the same? Everything needs to be objective. So I love having a checklist, just as we expect our RBTs to go into sessions prepared with materials, a way to take data, etc. We also need to go in prepared with a checklist of what we're trying to accomplish, what we're looking for, so that we can work together and help each other, me and the RBT. And then obviously, I think this should be pretty obvious, although it's sometimes gets lost in practice, is making sure that we're providing a very behavior-specific positive and corrective feedback. So positive and corrective. And I love that it said behavior-specific. And I'll get into that in a second. So corrective feedback is, when we are correcting what we're seeing. It's kind of the negative feedback. Hey, you're doing this wrong, let's fix it, but we're going to say it really nicely. And then positive feedback is all the compliments. Hey, I love the way that you presented that SD. You are so good at reinforcing immediately after he responds. And so that's where the behavior specific comes in. When we provide praise and social reinforcement to our kiddos, we talk about the same thing. If a kid touches his nose and you say, touch nose, and he touches his nose, you're really like, nice job, you touched your nose. Or, he sat in his chair. Thank you for sitting in your chair, right? We're very specific in our praise to our kiddos. The exact same thing needs to happen to the RBTs, right? Nice job collecting data. I noticed that you provided a physical prompt, but then I noticed that you went down the prompting scale. And look, now he's responding independently. That was all because of you, providing that very specific positive feedback as well as the corrective. Some kind of boring stuff, the supervisory relationship. So a BCBA and a BCABA can supervise the BCABAs and the RBTs. So it all kind of goes down. When you are supervising or start supervising, you are required to complete an 8-hour supervision training, and that's through the BACB prior to providing any kind of supervision. And I love this because, again, I think we all need that kind of training and coaching, and because supervising and providing feedback and collecting objective data on the RBT and the client, that's a totally new skill that we don't get to learn until we are, in the moment. It's not something you learn in school. It's not something you learn as an RBT. So it is totally new. We are going to maintain effective supervision. So I have seen in the past where the supervisor comes in and is like, okay, I'm supervising you for an hour. And I have seen it where the supervisor just kind of hangs out and watches the RBT do his thing. But making sure that we are there, we're engaged, we are providing feedback, positive and corrective, we're probing with our client, we're looking at their program, we're adjusting where it needs to be adjusted, but that we are providing effective supervision. Otherwise, there's no reason for you to be there. And then again, we're going to retouch on this communication. We're going to foster communicative and responsive environment. So I'm going to make sure that my RBTs know that they can talk to me, make sure that they know that they can give me corrective feedback, make sure that they can ask me questions about the programs, about the kiddos, about myself. I'm an open book because I am fostering and promoting that open communication between myself and the RBTs. It's my way of pairing with them. It's my way of building rapport with them. And that's how I think we're going to reach, no, not I think, that's how we are going to reach and maintain effective treatment for our kiddos in the long run, is if I can maintain a good relationship, a good, open, communicative, and trusting relationship with my RBTs. And then of course, we're gonna keep them on current and any new supervision requirements that the BACB puts out. We're going to stay on top of that. We're going to make sure that we're taking care of supervision, taking care of that 5% for our RBTs, and making sure that we are addressing all of the needs of the RBTs and the client during those supervision sessions. I kind of mentioned this a little bit before. This is our last point, I believe, is making sure that we're prepared. Again, we can't just go into a supervision session and just kind of sit there and watch. I mean, it's okay to observe. That's a big part of our job, but just to kind of sit back without any objective, without looking for something to adjust, that we are promoting effective treatment. So here it says plan and deliver supervision curriculum. So making sure that when we go into supervision, that we are addressing different items on the task list. These are teaching opportunities to help our RBTs become better RBTs and provide even more effective and efficient treatment to our kiddos. This is a constant learning process for, of course, us, but for our RBTs. This is where they're going to come in contact with the task list, is during our supervision sessions. We will, if we need to, or if the RBT's competency is coming due, we need to prepare for that, making sure that we have all the materials to run those and perform that evaluation. Talking about setting goals, expectations, boundaries, making sure that all of our training and our feedback is behavior analytic, meaning that anything that comes out of our mouths needs to come from the research, needs to be evidence-based. Otherwise, we're just not going to be effective, because part of ABA is using tools that work. So providing ABA training, obviously we need to model appropriate professional and ethical behavior. So however I'm expecting my RBTs to act, I also need to act. I need to be I need to be ethical. I need to be professional. Because if I'm expecting them to act that way and I'm not, that's just not fair for them. And again, I'm going to reiterate before the end of this presentation, I am always, and I'm always going to, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm always going to encourage you to do, to promote open, honest, and responsive communicative environment. To me, when it comes to supervision, that is what is most important, especially in regards to our RBTs. With our clients, we're focused on the data, we're focused on our graphs and what direction they're headed and the trend and our levels and the variability of the behavior that's occurring, and we can adjust that. But when it comes to our relationship and our supervision with our RBTs, making sure that we're open, we're honest, and I'm also going to add objective, making sure that when we are communicating that we are doing it in a way that's supportive, reinforcing for them, and honest and objective. And then obviously there's a sad part where if somebody is not progressing, someone is uncoachable, or here it says not making adequate progress towards goals, in that contract we can put, if these things aren't being accomplished, then this supervisory relationship is going to have to end. And that's kind of a sad part, but that's why we have contracts, is I will uphold my end if you uphold your end. If you're not upholding your end, then this relationship is going to end. So contracts are important, and mutual understanding of the requirements and expectations is also a must. A quick caution before we end: supervisors must understand the potential outcomes of ineffective supervision. So this looks like insufficient client progress. So our clients remain stagnant and at a plateau for months and months and months without changing, or without us making a change or an adjustment to their program. Are we seeing decreasing trends? Are we causing harm to their progress? Are we the barrier in their progress towards independence? We talked about fidelity and treatment. Are we making sure that everybody's running the programs the same way? Are we using ABA appropriately and according to the research and as we've been coached and taught in schooling? Are we being ethical? And if we're not being ethical, we need to address those issues right away so that we are making sure that we are safe as well as our clients. And then we kind of already touched on this as well. Lack of compliance with supervisory feedback. So are they coachable? Are we coachable? And these are all kind of signs of ineffective supervision. If your kiddos aren't changing, if your RBTs aren't changing, then there's something wrong. And that needs to be addressed. So whether it's looking at the data for your RBTs or looking at the data for your clients, making sure that we're always making constant and effective and evidence-based adjustments so that we are continually seeing progress in the kiddos' treatment goals, as well as the RBT's ability to provide behavior analytics services. So really quickly, Just one last point. Our job is so important because not only are we changing lives of all these clients that we are taking into our lives and creating goals and behavior intervention plans for, we are also changing and molding the lives of the RBTs that come into our lives and help us with those clients. They do so much for us. We, as RBTs, really are the base of our practice. You know, without them, we wouldn't be able to have as many hours and help these kiddos on a day-to-day basis like they do. At least at my clinic, they're with these kids for 3 hours a day, making sure that they are running, sit-down table work as well as targets and interventions in the natural environment. And they're on their hands and knees and they're sweating and crying and bleeding for these kids to succeed. And we need to make sure that we're providing adequate positive feedback. And make sure that they know how important and necessary that they are in this field. So, thank you so much.